wasn't ready. Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't perfect, but he showed me how to stand. Life ain't about excuses, it's about becoming a man. Everybody got a story, everybody got some pain. Everybody wants peace after the lines get drawn. Everybody wants unity after everybody picked a side. But if peace is really what we wanted, why didn't we start there? Headlines hit before the facts came home. Everybody picked a side from a microphone. One story loud, other voices low. Now the whole world arguing about what they don't know. Pain in the family, anger in the street. Everybody talking, ain't nobody trying to meet. Some want justice, some just wanna be heard. But somewhere in the middle, we lost the word truth. Can't build a bridge if the ground ain't level. Can't preach peace while we feeding the devil of division, suspicion, choosing the team when the young man's life should be more than a theme. If you want me to listen, then listen to them. If you want understanding, don't decide where it ends. We can disagree without drawing a line. If we're searching for truth, give both sides time. We couldn't start on even ground. Before the noise, before the crowd, before the whole world chose a side, before assumptions became our guide. Now everybody's saying peace right now, but where was peace when it all went down? If unity is what we're asking for now, why couldn't we start on even ground? Crump at the podium, family asking for peace, calling for the tension and division to cease. And I can respect wanting wounds to heal, but healing gets stronger when everybody feels that their voice matters, their questions count. That doubt ain't hate when the facts ain't out. Asking for evidence don't mean you don't care. Sometimes loving the truth means meeting it there. No threats, no mobs, no internet court, no twisting somebody's words for a viral report. No guilt by association, no trial by feed, just evidence, patience, that's what we need. Because justice ain't justice if the scale already lean, and peace ain't peace if it's only for one team. You can't erase what was said before, but we can decide what we're doing moving forward. This ain't about disrespecting grief. This ain't about choosing another side. It's about asking one question: if we really want peace, if we really want truth, if we really want unity, can everybody be heard? Put us all on even ground. Turn the accusations down. Bring the facts in, bring the proof. Let the evidence lead us to the truth. We don't need another side. We don't need another line. If unity is what we're fighting for now, then meet me here on even ground. Peace shouldn't be the cleanup. Peace should have been the foundation. Truth doesn't need a team. It needs an even ground.
Welcome in everyone to the Faceless Father page. As you can see at the top of the screen, welcome into the Faceless Father. Hit the like button, subscribe, and help this channel get to 1K subs so that we can get more content out to the masses. Again, this is the Faceless Father. This is a new channel trying to get to 1K subs. I appreciate everybody who is tuning in. If you catch this on the rewatch, please leave your comment, leave where you're watching from, and let us know what you like about the conversation and what you don't like about the conversation. Before we get started today, I will let you know we're going to be covering the Nolan Wells case today. The parents spoke out and told their side of the story. And then also the three young men, Warren, Jackson, and Morgans, told their side of the story with Officer Tatum. And then lastly, after the family was able to tell their side of what happened that night, the family spoke with Ben Crump and Al Sharpton. What we're going to be talking about today is there only one truth. I do want to put a disclaimer out there. This content is not for anyone to be judged, anyone to be found guilty, anyone to be told anything. This is just the facts and my opinions from the interviews and information that we are receiving. But again, we will be speaking about the Nolan Wells family. We'll be listening to their content and what they put out today. Also, the post interview of that, and then also listening to information from the three young men that was on Officer Tatum. So we're going to start this thing off no other way than with our cold opener. This afternoon, we have to talk about something uncomfortable. The Wells family have spoken. They share their understanding of what happened the night Nolan Wells passed, the questions they still have, the things they believe don't add up, and why they continue demanding answers. But the three young men who were with Nolan have spoken too. They have their version of that night. And here's where the conversation gets difficult. There can be different perspectives. There can be different memories. There can be different interpretations. But ultimately, there can only be one set of facts about what actually happened. So what are we doing with these competing accounts? Are we listening to both sides and allowing evidence to determine what we believe? Or have we already chosen the version that supports the conclusion we want? Because Nolan Wells would have turned 19 years old on August the 19th. A young man should be preparing to celebrate another birthday. Instead, his name has become attached to something much larger: questions about race, Mississippi history, justice, media, accusations, competing narratives, and now peace. And that's where I have another question. When Reverend Al Sharpton and Ben Crump initially addressed this case, race and Mississippi painful racial history were part of the public framing. Now we're hearing calls for peace and unity. And peace should always been welcome. But we still have to ask, could we have started there? Could we have started by hearing the Wells family, then hearing the three young men, then examining the evidence, and allowing truth wherever it leads to determine the narrative? Because once division enters a conversation, bring everybody back together becomes much harder. This afternoon isn't about choosing the Wells family. It isn't about choosing the three young men. And it isn't about choosing Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, social media, or anybody else's narrative. It's about Nolan. So this afternoon, we're asking, are we searching for one truth, or are we protecting different agendas? Thank you guys for tuning in this afternoon with the Faceless Father, and here we go.
So Nolan is and was an incredible soul. He was the person who, no matter where you were in life, what was going on, he was going to be your biggest cheerleader. And I can attest to that because after COVID, my sister was like, oh, you should do social media. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do social media. I like to just watch others. And then Nolan was like, no, Mom, you should do it. I'll help you with the videos. I got you. And, just anytime I was like, oh, I just really don't want to do this anymore, Nolan was like, no, Mama, you haven't posted today. And I'm like, I don't want to post. I'm tired. Yeah. But, that's the kind of person he was. He was God-fearing, God-loving. That boy had faith beyond measure. He was just a bright light. And he was our bright light. As far as that day goes, went to work, And he was making salmon. So he was FaceTiming me as I'm trying to see patients kind of in between, of course, not answering the phone in the room. And he's like, hey, Mama, how does this look? Is this enough season? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I was like, okay. I was like, you don't have to do that. And he's like, no, I'm going to take care of it. I was like, okay, sure. And so he finishes cooking, get home. He's like, yeah, what you know about this? And he was, guys, when I tell you, he loved to joke. Like, he was just one of those people. He wanted everyone around him to smile, be happy, feel comfortable and accepted. And that is the kind of person God made him. Us as parents, we definitely had that influence, but Nolan was just naturally a peacemaker. Yeah. And so yeah, after that, it was, 8, and then he got ready to go. He did his normal, hugged us up. I love you, Mom. I was like, be safe, knowing this was going to be his last weekend before going back to school, because football was starting, the summer training was starting. And this was his second year at Southwest. And so we knew this was going to be a big year for him. Dad and him had been training and doing all these things and really just kind of sitting with him and letting him know, like, hey, we're going to the next stage in your life as well as, your football career. So the focus was there, and he was ready.
So he leaves that day.
He leaves that day with, he drives his car, and he told us kind of a general, like, hey, we're going to go to the island. Like, we knew that, staying at Jack's house. And Jax was a friend I think we've met in passing before. And that's the thing, I always say there's a difference in meeting someone, knowing of someone, and then knowing someone. Knowing implies that we've sat down, we've had discussions about your hopes, your dreams, knowing you, okay, hey, he stayed the night at my house, which Wyatt, one of his friends, he had stayed at our house a couple of times. And then Jax, again, that was one I just maybe saw in passing a few times. There was only a handful of young men that we actually knew, like, he grew up with. And when I say grew up, I'm saying from like first grade, they've known each other all through high school now that they're graduated. And that would be like Jalen and Javon, LeBaron. Those are kids that we knew. So it's been hard seeing all this kind of play out.
Yeah.
And, these are people that he considered friends.
Yes. Dad, I want to ask you, because it was Warren Hudson, one of the people that he traveled with, who called to alert you all that Nolan was missing.
Yes.
So we know at 5:44, the boat returns, Nolan is not there. At 11 p.m., he calls to say Nolan is missing. I wonder if either of you, whoever wants to answer, what happened in those few hours that prompted Warren to be concerned?
I'm not quite sure what would prompt him to be concerned, but all I can say is what I did that day. So me and my sister, we made an order of pancit, which is a Filipino noodle dish for one of our friends. They were having a big family get together, and we really didn't have anything planned for the 4th. So me and my sister are, cleaning up, and this is about 8. And she's like, hey, no one hasn't texted us. Like, and that was the thing. No one was really big with communication with us, right? And so I call him, doesn't answer. I end the call. Call back, and this is probably, I think, maybe around 8. Don't quote me on the times, guys. So then I call again later around 8, still no answer. And then I want to say I called one more time, and I think that was at like.
Thank you to everybody who's coming in. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel and help us get to 1K subs. Also, please let us know where you're actually watching from. This is the Nolan Wells family giving their account of the night of 4th of July heading into the morning of July the 5th. And we'll break down some little parts of it once she finishes speaking. But wanted to let you guys see this. This actually was today.
10:48. So I'm in the kitchen, my phone rings. Now this is probably like early 11 o'clock, somewhere around there. Phone rings when I make it back to the phone, and I'm like, whose number is this? Because, we get weird phone calls sometimes. They didn't leave a message. Number pops back up. I pick up the phone because it says maybe Warren. And I'm like, Warren. So this is 11:07. That's per my cell phone records. So I answered the phone. He's like, hey, Miss Christine, have you seen or talked to Nolan? I said, no. Why? He should be with you guys. And he said, oh, no. Well, when we went to the island, there was a girl named Katie that he met, and he had decided to stay behind. I said, what? Because we know our child.
So that's the first question I want to pose for everyone, because we have to have a conversation. For any parents who are watching this currently on the live, or if you watch this on the rewatch, we all have experienced moments where our children do things that could be out of their character. We understand that this family is grieving, but we also have to be matter of fact with saying that not every child is going to make the same decision every day. We as adults don't even make the same decisions every day. So, and I understand everybody has to keep a certain side of the story going or a certain narrative going, which is okay. But with that being said, we have to understand that just because as parents we know our children doesn't mean that our children won't do something outside of what we expect them to do. There's no perfect child and there's no perfect parent.
And Nolan isn't one to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and I'm going to stay here with this girl that I just met. So I'm on the phone with him. Now I'm in a panic. I'm running to my room. Elmore was in bed watching a different movie. And I'm like frantic. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, Nolan is missing. I'm trying to pull up the GPS as I'm talking to him. And at some point he tells me that, I was like, well, his phone says GPS Life 360, not Snapchat.
Right.
Life 360 says that he's on land. And he was like, well, no, I mean, well, we have his phone. And I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, okay. Because at that point, you're telling me, this is coming from Warren, don't worry about it. We're going to find him. It's going to be okay. Don't tell me not to worry. This is my child, my flesh and blood that I brought into this world. And you're telling me not to worry. Absolutely not. So then it was after the phone call ended, of course, asking him for information. What was he wearing? He was like, last seen, Northwest tip, black shorts, sunglasses. That's important. So I end up calling DMR, spoke with the DMR. She took all the
for our audience, DMR.
So DMR is because he went missing on the island. They are basically the marine people, right? They're the ones who's going to launch the boats to go into the water and all that. But before getting off the phone with Warren, he was like, hey, I know some people at Coast Guard. I said, okay. He's like, I'm going to call Coast Guard. You call DMR. Get on the phone with DMR. I give the young lady the information. And she tells me.
And right there, we can't take away the new trust that she built in Warren, right? She initially said that Warren can't tell her how to feel, but she was okay with Warren taking the phone call to the Coast Guard and her doing DMR. So at some point, for someone not to be the friend of your son, for someone not to be someone that you recognize, you still did trust that they would give the call to Coast Guard, which people did question that throughout this investigation of, did they call? When did the call happen? We do know where we currently stand with that. We know those calls were made. With that being said, we just have to understand that there's two sides to every story, and that's the most important part. Again, there's not enough evidence for anyone to be found guilty or any foul play at this moment.
Hey, I got this. Let me call you back. And she was like, I'm not sure if this is going to be in our jurisdiction, essentially. So then she calls back and she tells me, okay, yeah, we spoke with Coast Guard. And I'm like, okay, but they're like, this isn't our jurisdiction. You have to contact the city of Ocean Springs. I said, okay, hang up the phone, call in Ocean Springs Police Department. They say, hey, you have to physically come down and give a report. I said, okay. So on our way, because we don't live that far from the police station, on our way there, I was like, well, let me stop by the hospital, because there's a hospital that's maybe 5 minutes up the road from our house. Stop by there. I'm like, hey, have you guys seen this kid? Has he been brought in? The lady's like, no, ma'am. We hadn't. I said, okay, thank you. Run out. We go to the police department, get to the police station. And the officer basically says, again, this is out of our jurisdiction. And at that point, I'm like, my God, who am I supposed to talk to? Who is supposed to help me with this? So then he said, it's going to be, you would have to call DMR. I was like, we've already called DMR. DMR said it's not in their jurisdiction. So we end up, I think at some point I had called Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Yeah. So she calls back and she's like, hey, are you there? I said, yes, we're here. But he's telling us the same thing you guys told us, which is no, we can't take it. She gets on the phone with the police officer. Now this is Jackson County Sheriff's Department speaking with the Ocean Springs Police Department. Ocean Springs Police Department is saying, this is why we can't take this information. She says, okay. He gives me the phone back and she's like, okay, I'm just going to take it. I'm just going to take the information. And that was, we met an officer. It was after midnight. Right? Yeah, it was somewhere after midnight. Met him in the McDonald's parking lot, gave him the information. He was just like, okay, thanks. I was like, where is the urgency? Mm-hmm. And so as far.
And we also have to remember protocol, guys. There's moments where we can't even get an Amber Alert until your child is missing for so many days. And I understand that a parent could be reacting out of emotions, but again, here at the Faceless Father, we want to bring some objectivity and subjectivity here. We want to be very transparent. Again, her emotions are warranted in this moment, but this is normal protocol. No one is reported missing that quickly. And I'll try to find you guys the guidance of when the hours are for a person to actually be identified as missing.
As far as we know, there were no boats on the water that night. We actually, his high school football coach, Coach Bramlett, text Elmore that morning. He said, hey man, I got a boat. Because again, we don't have boats. Let me make that very clear. We do not have a boat. We're not boating people. We don't do water like that. Okay. So Coach Bramlett's like, hey, I got a boat. So we was like, great, let's go. We're on the water. We go out there. We walk the island. Cell phone works perfectly fine. I actually had almost an entire conversation with my grandmother who was in a panic as we're walking this island looking for anything.
I just want to pause there. The cell phone worked fine because in the reporting, there's been so much reporting that there's poor cell phone reception. And this is some of the disputes that we have about that night. Dad, feel free to jump in here because they're saying he met this young lady, Katie, and that he stayed back. According to the reporting, Katie is saying no. He said he was going to go with his friends. According to the reporting, the friends say, no, he left us his phone because there was no reception. Dad, have you found any consistencies? Have you spoken directly with any of his friends?
Well, the first inconsistency was you called me and tell me my son stayed on the island to talk to a girl. My son would never do that. That's not in his character.
And I do want to give you guys the facts. I researched it in Mississippi. There is no required 24, 48, or 72-hour waiting period to notify somebody of a missing person. The entry should be made as soon as possible once the supporting documentation is on file. So once that given in, the police officer will need to do that. It says one distinction matters: reported missing entered into NCIC is being the subject of a special public alert are not necessarily the same thing. So somebody can be reported missing, but that doesn't mean that it's going to then go out to like an Amber Alert or things of that nature. It says applying to specifically the Nolan Wells timeline, the important factual question would be what time was he last known to be accounted for, which that's where a lot of people don't know, which would make it hard to actually initiate a missing person report. So just wanted to bring you guys all the details here at the Faceless Father so that we're not just jumping to conclusions.
I didn't raise none of my kids to do that. The second thing is, you say he doesn't have his phone. He doesn't leave his phone. I would wake up sometimes in the morning and Nolan would have his phone here right in my face. And I'm waking up cussing the fuss like, boy, you don't get the camera on my face. And he just laughing and giggling and stuff like that. So it's twice. To me, there's two lies that told me as a father. Like I said, we went on the island. And actually a classmate of mine called me that morning as we were going out to the island with Nolan's coach. He's like 40 miles away. He calls me, hey man, I got the boat. Me and my boys, we're gonna go out there and help you look. I didn't call him, he called me. And we're gonna start on this end. I said, well, we're probably gonna start on the other end. So me, my wife, Coach Bramlett, and a high school classmate of mine were the only we were the first ones out there looking. Like I said, we docked the boat, got out the boat, walked on the island. She had a whole conversation with her grandmother on the island, got back on the boat, went back around the island. I guess that would be the north side, facing the Gulf of Mexico. I get another phone call. So my phone worked fine. So this whole thing about not having phone service, I don't know. I don't know if it's the carrier or what, but ours worked fine. I think that was around maybe 8 o'clock.
Yeah, because he finished up around.
Who was it? Jackson County or
Jackson County Sheriff
finally showed up.
Yeah,
a couple of boats, they finally showed up. By that time, I was like, he's not out here. I was more focused that he was at someone's house.
That was
so. That's where my hopes and feelings were. So we left. The county stayed out there. My friend, he stayed out there because he called. He was like, well, we're gonna stay out here a little bit longer. I said, okay, I appreciate it. So we leave. Then I would say maybe a couple hours later, my friend calls me back and he said, well, we're gonna give it a go, but he said, look, I can gas the boat back up. And if you want to go back out there, we can go back out there. I said, I don't want to go back out to the island. I have a feeling that he's not there. And I don't want to go back to the island. So he said, he said, well, if you do, we can go right now. I said, don't worry about it. I appreciate you coming out there. But he said at that time that helicopters were out there, more Coast Guard, more people out there. So we get back on there. And as far as the keys, what was it that night? Or was it
that was that night.
That was the night to call. Okay, let me back up. As far as getting the car back, after we
This is going to be a very vital part to listen to the details that the father provides about getting the keys back, because when we play the interview with the three young men, you will see that there are some similarities and some truth that kind of correlate the two conversations together, which will say that both people are telling the truth about the encounter, but just saying it in different ways. So I would highly encourage you guys to pay attention to this area.
I report to Jackson County, the sheriff department that night. We were trying to figure out who to get a report to. We had a friend in the family that located his phone. We wasn't there to get the phone, but apparently there was some kind of friction in getting his phone.
Yeah.
We don't
And
know
it
what the friction
so
was.
the phone and the key were at the same location, which was Jack's house.
Okay.
And again, all of these kids share their locations on Snapchat. And so she was like, hey, I can go pick his phone up, not thinking that his car is there, you know. Which she stopped everything she was doing. Her and the boys, they went out. Like, we were all out searching for him that night. And yeah, like Omar was saying, there was an issue, some type of friction. The cops ended up coming and they left. And so then kind of the same thing when we came to pick up the key. Elmore went up there asking for the key, didn't know where the key was, and all of a sudden we know where the key is.
You see, but see this, and this is another thing that bothered me. So when we got to the house, you know, it was some of his other friends were there, you know, and they were, you know, beating on the door like, "What Nolan there? What Nolan there?" You know, beating on the door trying to get in the house. So I walk up to the door and I'm calming them down because, for one, okay, you're loud. Two, you're in these people's house. So if you take these people's house up, that's gonna be a whole nother issue. I don't want y'all bothering. And three, I need you guys to calm down, and I need them to kind of trust me as being an adult so I can get something out of it. So I get.
And I'm not sure when you guys were following this case initially, the only person that they stated that went to the house was actually the friend of Christina. So now we're actually discovering that the father was actually present at the home as well. And now you're listening to him telling the young men or women, whoever was there, a group of them, to actually calm down. So if you notice about this, at the start of the show, we spoke about division, right? And everybody was already coming and initiating the divide. And I understand emotions are there, but there became a quick divide, and you can hear it here.
Them out the house, and then Jax finally come down the stairs, I guess in the room. Harold Minister, like he just woke up, whatever. I said, look, I'm Nolan's father. His car is outside. I need to get his car and all his personal effects that may be left over here. And he goes, oh man, Nolan was like my brother. I said, Nolan was like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go and get everything of his so I can get his car, I can go home. So he walks off. 2 or 3 minutes later, he come back. I don't see the keys. Okay. So I leave out the house, go back outside, stand by the car. During that time, one of the guys that was in the house, one of the other friends, he was on the phone with a girl who was apparently there with them earlier that day. And she was telling him that his keys was on top of the Xbox in his room. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and we're still out by the car. And lo and behold, here comes the keys. So now to me, you lied to me 3 times. I don't believe nothing that you tell me. Me on out.
And this is Jax.
So also for y'all, when we watch the video of Jax, you're going to hear his side of this, saying that he wasn't aware where the keys were, also in this huge house. But then, if I'm not mistaken, the father just spoke that the friend told Jax where the keys were. So again, Jax is also going to talk to you guys about like what happened when he initially found the news out that they couldn't find Warren, which would possibly explain why the father said Jax came down and his hair was all over the place, looked like he was just waking up, because this all correlates. Again, here at the Faceless Father, we're just talking about the facts, and we're keeping the emotions out of it for myself, for sure.
And eventually he does give you the key.
Yeah, eventually.
But there was friction getting the key.
Yes. So from one, you tell me my son is on left still on the island with a girl. 2, you have a.
I don't see why he's so frustrated about someone saying that your son decided to stay at an island with a female. If you look at the thumbnail today, it says, do our children always do the right thing? Like, just because we raise our children one way doesn't mean that they're automatically going to do everything that in that manner. Like, this is like almost exasperating a situation that already has enough negativity, but just trying to create a stronger narrative for how you felt about the people. That the mother initially came out every time a child came out that they weren't friends, but she said those people were who Nolan actually considered friends. And she said anybody that she would consider Nolan's friend, she would sit down and talk about their dreams and aspirations. That's not true. None of y'all who are watching this on the rewatch could tell me that you done sat down with every one of your son or daughter's friends and say, oh, what are you planning to do in the future? What are your goals? Some friends don't even stay around long enough for you to even want those details. So we just have to be factual. That's all.
Phone. And 3, you don't give me the kids when I ask. I don't know any father who would believe there's just, if one of my friends did that, I'm gonna be cordial with you, but I'm gonna watch you. And I just,
Ben, I want to ask you, because I'm hearing these two parents who essentially had to become search and rescue or law enforcement, looking for their own child with such a lack of urgency on behalf of law enforcement. Obviously, we're talking to Black journalists. We can't ignore the ugly racial history of Mississippi. I looked into the demographics.
And as you see, you guys really pay attention to this interview they're having right now on this stage, because later on today, we're going to cover the post interview of this show. And they're asking to leave race out of it, but every question keeps stemming back to the race, the historical rhetoric of Mississippi. We're asking one thing, but doing another. So, and again, guys, I understand that this is, at this point, you know that your son is no longer here, so the emotional state is higher. But prior to this, they were still just searching for Nolan. We can say that there were no sense of urgency, but none of us know what's actually going on. We're just taking everyone's word.
Graphics of the Jackson County Sheriff Department is quite asymmetrical, but also just the general attitude and the lack of value when it comes to Black life. Does this sound like a normal process for when an 18-year-old goes missing to you? What holes have you seen in your looking into this case?
Tiffany, that was the question that Christine and Elmore had when they first called us. They wanted the truth of what happened to their 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells. And they had concerns whether they were going to get a fair and impartial investigation. And from that day to this one, it has been the same objective: to have truth, transparency, and find out what happened to Nolan. They said, we want a thorough investigation, because when they found Nolan, they expressed to me that the sheriff had already said no foul play. And they was like, no, my son, he knows how to swim.
So now they're talking about 2 areas of the investigation, right? We're supposed to be sticking to what happened the night of the incident. Ben Crump is coming in on the aftereffect, not answering the question of the lady. So again, here we go with the timelines. We're supposed to be speaking about that night. So just pay attention.
Our son is a college athlete. Our son is in great shape. We don't believe that he just drowned and nobody knows nothing. Nobody saw nothing. I mean, there are about 300, 400 people on the island. And so that's what they were saying. We want to know what happened. We want truth. We want transparency. We don't want his death to be swept under the rug.
Well, just so to make sure the audience and the people watching at home know, so they did declare very quickly, as you're noting, that he drowned when his body was recovered on July 6th. Mom and Dad and you all know that he is a student athlete, able to swim. On July 4th on Horn Island, it was very crowded. Certainly the suggestion is someone would have seen a child in distress. There is going to be the convening of a grand jury. Now, the DA of this area, Angel Myers McElrath, is a very out loud, proud Republican. If there is a U.S.
And here we go. Here we go. We're speaking about politics and not justice for Nolan. We continue to move the goalposts, and you can see that the grift is no longer about justice for Nolan. Guys, we understand that there's racist white people. We get it. We understand that Mississippi has racist history. We get it. Every state has some racism in it. But at the end of the day, this doesn't bring justice for Nolan.
Attorney appointed to this case. It will likely be a Trump appointee. I'm just curious, Ben, from you and Rev, I think we have to be very candid here. What concerns
they even bringing up Trump.
Do you have about the racial animus that we are seeing so much of play.
So we went from wanting to know the details of that night. We only got to the part when the father went to the house to get the keys and the phone. And now we shifted all the way from, we don't care how the rest of that night ended. Now we're talking about once the body was discovered and the racial tension in Mississippi.
In this case,
Well,
you or Rev, whoever.
all I'll say, and then defer to Rev, you want to believe that this is a child, that everybody's going to do their level best to find out what happened so these brokenhearted parents will know what happened to their child. In time, we've seen Christine and the family be attacked just for asking questions. What happened to my child? Trying to say, no, we want to question this part of the investigation, that part of the investigation, because day one you said no foul play, but tell me now, what are you doing to be able to get us to the truth? And that is, it causes them sleepless nights. We talk at night. And so trust, but verify. We are trying to cooperate everything we can do to say, hey, we want to help, but we want you to give them a thorough investigation. We want you to do for him what you would do for your child.
Rev, I'm going to come to you in a sec, but you brought up something then about attacks. And certainly as journalists, we have a keen eye, and I have noticed that the narrative around this story has shifted to the threats that are going to the young men who was with Nolan. They've hired attorneys who previously represented Donald Trump in cases. They've gone on very MAGA-friendly podcasts. And I just want to make sure that we keep the main thing, the narrative to the victim, to the actual child who died. And I'm curious, Christine, if you can weigh in on what threats have you and your family experienced?
So there have been a big smear campaign, just not only professionally, but personally for me. And
they attacked your nursing license.
Yes. So it started out with 1-star reviews of people saying they saw.
And anyone who's watching this live now, or anyone who's going to watch this on the replay, I'm really going to ask this question. Someone smearing the name of the mom, but everybody talking positive about Nolan Wells. What weight does that really carry? Everybody says Nolan Wells was the greatest kid ever. Everybody says Nolan Wells entered a room and he lit up the room. Everything should be focused on Nolan Wells, not personal. Everything should be focused on Nolan Wells. Nolan Wells was a great man, a great young man. He would have turned 19 on August the 19th. I understand that people were trying to do defamation to her character. That's fine. But at the end of the day, this does not bring justice for Nolan. Speaking about your own personal defamation of character does not bring justice for Nolan.
My office verified that these were incorrect. And then it went so much as to someone contacted the Board of Nursing, and then that opened the investigation for the professional misconduct. There was no evidence presented for that claim. And the investigator I spoke with, he said, we have to do our due diligence. I said, I understand it. I respect it. He was like, I'm sorry it's coming at this time. I was like, no, I get it. Do what you have to do, because I know who I am. I know what kind of care I give to my patients. I know the relationship that we have. And I'm grateful that my patients, a lot of them are still trusting and loving in the care that they know they're going to get with me. And so these attacks are not going to, it's not going to break me. I have to find out. We have to find out what happened to Nolan. That is the only question we've ever asked. We've never blamed anyone. We've never tried to smear anyone. I know I heard something about the picture. That picture was sent to me because
this is a picture of him on the boat.
On the boat with people.
Yes.
And what it was is they were like, the person was like, Miss Christine, the information is incorrect. This is what he was wearing. Because initially he was in black shorts, which again, that is the information I received from Warren verbally and via text. When she sent me that picture, I was like, oh, completely different color. These are like a blue-gray short. So we have to correct that. But I'm grateful. We are grateful to all of you. Thank you for keeping our son's story alive. And thank you so much, Tiffany, for having us.
I think that's part of the our assignment here, our responsibility. So often in newsrooms, we have to defend and define Black life and defend and define our own humanity. And so it makes a difference. The same way in other newsrooms, when you see someone and you feel like they're familiar, that so happens that they resegregate newsrooms and lay off Black journalists en masse, that goes away. So the people in this room have a keen interest in this story because they see your humanity. And that's what we center in this conversation. Rev, put this in historical context for us, because as I look at Mississippi, I don't have to tell you of all people some of the immediate thoughts that surface for us here.
Well, when I got the call from Ben Crump and he had the parents connected and they told me the story, I'd not heard the story. I heard something about some in Mississippi. But when I heard the details, the thing that jarred me from a civil rights point of view, and I've been working, Ben has come National Action Network for 20 some years on a case, and then from there on and on and on. And if it's not a civil rights position, we don't get involved. When they told me that law enforcement said there is no foul play, that's a prejudgment. And I said, wait a minute. They said, the parents repeated me, I said, they said it was this 2 days after it happened. And how do you investigate and there's no foul play and you don't even know what happened yet? So that's what perked my interest. So I said that, well, we'll be involved and we'll help to the best of our ability. Talked another day or two. I said, y'all come to New York, we'll have a national press conference. That's how we broke the story. The first national press conference they did at our headquarters, National Action Network. And then all of a sudden it was all of this attack for getting involved. And they asked me to do the eulogy. I said, we'll take care of the funeral. Tyler Perry called me and said, no, I'll take care of it. So the thing that bothered me, one, it was prejudgment. Second, the parents of the guys that were with him started talking about they was going to sue us for getting involved. And
so we're going to stop it right there. That was Nolan Wells' parents' side of the story, which shifted very quickly after they started speaking about getting to the home. Doesn't look like we wanted to talk about the full night, but we just wanted to get to certain parts, which I understand. I understand that everybody has a role in this, even myself, right? My side of this or my thoughts or facts could come off a certain way as well. So I do understand that. I'm not negating that, but it's just hard to follow if we are really trying to get justice for Nolan, or are we focusing still on the history of Mississippi? And if you feel like there's no way to get justice for Nolan because of Mississippi, why are we dividing so hard? Why are we causing so much division if we feel like, hey, Mississippi is the problem? But the most important thing is justice for Nolan Wells. So that was the parents' interview. And as the reporter there who was throwing her own daggers, we're going to move over to segment number 2, or what she would have called the Magna interviews. So here we're going to have the interview of the 3 gentlemen speaking with Nolan Wells' friends, which Miss Christina Wells did acknowledge during her interview that Nolan could have or does consider these gentlemen his friends, but she just never known them. In the middle is Jax, is someone who she said that she did see him with before, but she didn't know him. Because they never sat down and talked about his resume or what he wanted to do in the future. With that being said, we have to show every side of every interview. These young gentlemen are also going to cooperate with a lot of the story that the father gave, but it also gives their perspective, right? So here we're just trying to give both perspectives of what's going on. So here we go.
And so there was a conversation that we had, Warren, last time about you not going or ever being at his house, and people took that as if you weren't his friend. Can you guys describe what engagement did you have with Nolan at his house, with his parents, him with your parents? Like, how did all that circulate?
Well, like Jack said, like, he used to pick up Nolan every day. I used to pick up Nolan every day. My buddy Wyatt used to pick up Nolan. Like, literally would pick. We didn't make Nolan drive anywhere.
That's how much we loved him, bro.
Like,
we just always wanted to be there.
That's how much, like, everybody knows this too. Like, Nolan didn't drive. Like, especially at least in our friend group, because Nolan, we always picked Nolan up, regardless of where it was. Like, literally on July 3rd, Nolan rode with me and rode with me to Wyatt's because we had to get parts for a boat. But anyway, just for, you know, it's crazy that like, I think it's kind of sad that like people, I have some friends of mine that I'm very, very close with, and I just don't know their parents. You know, we're grown men. You don't have to know someone's parents to be close with them. And for someone's like, for, you know, them to come out and be like, oh, well, y'all aren't friends with somebody. Well, how are you going to tell me like my relationship with somebody else? You know, it's crazy. Like they've said this all about us, like, oh, we're fake friends. Well, that's really horrible to say, because if you go look on every social media post on Nolan's Instagram or Facebook or anything else, the only people in it are us and his football guys. Like that's just so real. Every time Nolan's in Starkville, he's with us. Every time Nolan's anywhere, not even just Starkville, but anywhere.
Oh yeah, we went on countless vacations
From
and
prom, homecoming, everything. Nolan's with us because we're his friends. It's not that hard to understand. I mean, I don't have to prove this to anybody, but that's the truth. I don't have to prove my friendship. And these guys feel the same way. We don't have to prove our friendship with Nolan, but I know it's right.
You know, so was Nolan around your family then?
Oh yeah, Nolan was always around our houses. I mean, I can even say this: Nolan and Wyatt's dad had a secret friendship that we weren't even in.
Yeah, I mean, were like best friends.
We would go over to Wyatt's house, and Nolan, we would all be in the backyard, whenever doing something, and Nolan would be inside on the couch with Wyatt's dad, and they'd just be cutting it up all night.
Yeah, watching movies together. Like
Scarface is their favorite movie.
Yeah.
They'd watch Scarface.
Now look at the difference, guys. Look at the difference of the good memories and the things that they remember about Nolan. And I think that's the most hard thing for me to understand as I'm taking in this information from all different areas. Is just that this is supposed to be about finding justice for Nolan Wells. And I think if everybody united, regardless of how we feel about things or the history of Mississippi, these young gentlemen had a good relationship with Nolan. And as I mentioned before, I think these three gentlemen are being put in front of us because they are possibly innocent. And that's just my opinion about it. So here we go.
All the time. But it really shows you like the effect like all this has had on everybody, not including just our friend group, but like our friends' parents and my parents. Like our friends were really, and families were really close with Nolan. And I mean, this has been a horrible tragedy, not just for us, but for our families and friends too. My mom knew Nolan because she used to drive us from Waffle House to school once a week. My stepdad knew Nolan because he used to drive us. My dad, everybody, like,
and he would always come to the house too all the time.
And not just that, but like I'm talking about like from a young age, like from 8th grade. But Nolan would always be at our houses, stay at our houses. And for his parents to come out and say, oh, well, we don't know these boys. Well, then does that mean you don't know where your kid's staying at night? Because he was staying at our houses. So
sorry to interrupt. I know you're enjoying this incredible interview. Make sure you hit.
And the previous year, we went to Horn Island. Nolan was with us out there then. And every time we go out to Horn Island, usually Nolan's with us. And every single year for the 4th of July, when we go out there, Nolan's with us. I mean, this is a tradition. I mean, everybody waits all year for Horn Island, 4th of July. Like, that is the place to be. That is a party all day. And it is literally right up all of our alleys. Like, that's what we want to do all day. Like, that's the funnest day of the year. And, yeah.
I mean, Nolan was with us 2 weeks prior to the 4th of July at Horn Island with no one out there. If we had any intention to hurt Nolan at the island, why would we do it on the 4th of July with thousands of people out there? I mean, it's pretty clear. We literally all went out there for my buddy's birthday, and Nolan was with a whole group of people like we were with on the 4th. So, I mean, that's
and it was on like a Wednesday.
It's not like this is just like a random like occasion. No, we do this all the time, and not even just Horn Island, but Nolan's on the boat with us all the time. We all go on the boat. We all do things together like this. So,
I want to get to some pointed questions about the phone situation, because I think last time, Warren, when you and I talked or spoke, you weren't at the house when the phone was recovered.
So this is going to be a very vital part to pay attention to for those who are just now coming in. Make sure you catch the rewatch or go back and watch the parents speak about their night of July the 4th heading into the morning of July 5th. The father said that he went to the house to retrieve the phone, and it was others there. So you guys are about to hear a lot of the story that actually correlates with each other, but you're going to hear from a different point of view, right? The father had his point of view. Now you're going to be able to hear from these gentlemen what their point of view was when they came to receive the phone. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the first information we received was that one of Christina's friends were going to get the phone. And I could have missed it because I'm trying to follow as much as this case as I can and get as much information as I can. But I do not recall anyone saying that Nolan Wells' father was there initially to get the phone in the truck.
I want to figure this out. Explain to me, because a lot of people are still online saying that they find it to be incredibly suspicious that Nolan left his phone. Can you explain, did Nolan ask you for his phone back when you guys were leaving? Was it not a part of the conversation? Was Nolan the only person that left his phone on the boat? Can you guys walk me through idea?
So I can go ahead first and say nobody has their phone in the water. Even when you jump in a pool, you have your phone. Like, no, you don't. You're not going to bring your electronic in the water. So what everybody does is they stick their phones on the dash of the boat and they forget about it because you don't have good service. You can't even send a picture through from Horn Island to like somebody else. And so they put it on the phone. And even as teenagers, we don't really get on them. We go out there and we conversate and we see a bunch of people that we usually don't see on a day-to-day basis that we graduated high school with, guys that graduated before.
And I think this is why it's very important for eventually Nolan phone to be passed over, right? We just initially heard the parents say that Miss Christina was on Horn Island and had an entire conversation with her grandmother. And the father said that he was able to speak and receive a call while he was on Horn Island, right? So we can't say what Jax just said is true, right? Because they're saying on their side of the house that they were able to receive calls and call other individuals. With that being said, I think we will know by timestamps and things of that nature once Nolan Wells' phone is turned over and they're able to do the joint extraction of Nolan Wells' phone. So I just think, again, there's opportunities for us to really get some very detailed answers that could debunk a lot of these myths that are on both sides.
For us, it's a big meeting, like seeing all your friends that you haven't seen in a while. And so whenever we were coming back in, he didn't even think about grabbing his phone. He never asked about his phone, along with 5 other people that also left their phones on the boat. And we had to wait at the boat launch for them to come and pick them up, including Javon. I mean, Javon left his phone on our boat.
Yeah, Javon is one of the guys in the friend group.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Javon's a friend of mine, friend of ours, like not as tight as Nolan. Javon's in the class under me in school, and he's a friend of mine. But just like a lot of our other friends, Javon's our friend. He left the phone on the boat because we're trustworthy people. We're not going to steal something. We're not going to delete pictures off of someone's phone. We're not going to delete text messages. We're not going to get on anyone's phone because we have no reason to. But Javon left his phone. And we gave Javon his phone back along with everybody else who left their phone on the boat. So
yeah, we'll get to that because I think I have the timeline in my mind. So you guys, the boat is taking in water. You had already left, Morgan, right? You had already left on the boat. So there's 3 boats. You had already left about 5 minutes before this situation happened. The last 2 boats was Bart's boat and Wyatt's boat. And those are the 2 boats that left out because Bart was kind of towing Wyatt's boat out. So you guys are on the boat. What was the conversation with Nolan? Because Nolan obviously had come in on Wyatt's boat. You guys are all getting ready to leave. So what was the communication like with Nolan?
So actually, Wyatt was saying, told Nolan, because Nolan's with this girl at this point. They're together. Wyatt looked at Nolan. He was like, dude, come on. Boat's taking on water. We got to go, like right now. And Nolan didn't want to go. He said he wanted to stay with the girl. And Wyatt started yelling at him. He's like, Nolan, get on the boat now. And Nolan's like, no. And then finally, Wyatt's like, Nolan, get on the effing boat right now. We are leaving right now. And Nolan said he had another ride back, and we had no more time to waste. We got to get the boat out of there before it goes under.
And it was that. And when Nolan said that, like, was there an issue that you believe that Nolan would be able to get back, or were you concerned?
So what I can say is I've been out countless times on one boat to Horn Island and came back on another. I've done it before where I went out on one boat and my friends left, and I just know so many people out there. I didn't even think about, do I have a ride already set up? I just know so many people out there that I'm like, okay, there's 100% sure I can find a ride back, and which I have before, And it's one of those things where it's at Horn Island, you don't even have to know somebody to ask for a ride back in. They're going to bring you in. It's not like, oh, are they going to bring me in or are they not? Should I ask? No. If you ask anybody out there, 100%, they'll bring you back.
Southern
in.
hospitality.
Yeah, the
South Mississippi.
I mean, we had somebody.
The boating community is so like tight knit. Like it doesn't matter like who you are. If someone sees you struggling on the island, no matter the case, they will come and help you. They will do anything in their power to help you and bring you back to the mainland.
I'll put another example out there. We know another kid who was pretty intoxicated out there, and he couldn't find his boat. And he asked somebody random that he didn't even know if he could catch a ride back with them. And they were like, yeah, got him on the boat, called his parents, told them the situation was going on, and then took him back on inshore.
And that happened this time, or is
4th of July?
This current 4th.
So you guys you leave. Nolan is there. I'm based on what you're telling.
And I think it's very interesting that we have gotten so involved in these young men, and no one's trying to be very adamant about the young lady that people continue to say that he stayed on the island with. I know a lot of people are like, man, someone had to see something. But what if it was truly her who seen something? And no one's going for that. Like no one's trying to really get the information from this young lady. And again, for those who follow any content, I keep telling everybody the grand jury is going to be the opportunity where we hear so much more from other people, because they're going to be able to grant them things like immunity. They're going to be able to say things secretively and people not know their names. The case file won't be released, you know, stuff like that. So it's just a lot with this case. But we'll continue hearing these young men for now.
I mean, I'm perceiving that you guys are accepting that Nolan's going to get a ride back somewhere else. Y'all taking on water. Explain to the audience, what is this sinking boat thing like? Because I think that people are in good faith, the ones who are acting in good faith, are genuinely curious of like, are you sinking? Do you think you're going to sink? Because you hear Wyatt on the phone and he's like, we're sinking, we're going down. And obviously you never went down. So can you explain what he was saying about going down? Was there a little bit of water? Was he just panicking more than normal? Or like, what was that? And I want you to explain too, like, what happened to the boat? How did you recover the boat? And how did you get back to the mainland?
So I'm going to go ahead and first off explain a boat. So a bilge pump is in the bilge. The bilge is underneath the deck where you stand in the very bottom of the boat. And there's a space in there where you have all your electronics, your batteries, everything that controls everything throughout the whole boat. So the first thing that fills up on a boat when it starts to sink is the bilge. And it goes in the bilge and it starts filling up. Well, then the bilge pump kicks on, senses the water automatically, and starts pumping it out. In this situation, the bilge pump had a malfunction. It didn't kick on. And it got all the way to the very top of the bilge, which is the floor level. And then we started to see the boat actually sag down in the water, and we're like, okay, what's going on? So there's a cap in the back of the boat that you can unscrew and look inside the bilge. When we unscrewed it, there's so much water in the boat, it started overflowing onto the deck. And so at this point, we're like, okay, this boat's going down. It's going down quick. We don't know where the water's coming in from. We don't know what's going on. And we just go into full on like panic mode, get this thing out of here now. So we hook up the boats.
No, call Cito.
Okay.
Let's get to that part. Because you called Cito first?
No.
Or you had the boats hooked up first?
We had the boats hooked up first.
Yeah. Okay.
So we hook up the boats and we start towing them out. And he's on the phone with Cito. Because, hold on, let me go back a second. The electronics completely glitched out. Nothing is working on the boat. There's so much water in there. Nothing is working.
The batteries are also
completely underwater. Like they're yeah, everything's fried basically. So we have it connected, kind of towing them out. And he's on the phone with Cito and he's trying to get them on the phone. And as he stated in the moment, he's like, Cito's just asking all these dumb questions. I can't like figure out what's going on. And so finally hangs up. And after the trim to the motor started to work again. So they manually trim it down by the buttons on the motor, trimmed it down, and some electronics started to come back on. And they got the boat to crank over. And they're like, all right, untie us, because if you get a boat on plane, the suction of the water.
Rain said, why is Tatum correcting their account? I'm assuming that's what you're saying, their reaccount. I would highly recommend, Soft Rain, that when you get an opportunity, go listen to the parents interview, because this seems to be a normal occurrence, right? I think we pick it out because some people are not fans of Officer Tatum, but when you go listen to the family's account of this, the reporter does the same exact thing. She kind of, hey, let's back up and this stuff. Like, I think it's a reporter thing, to be honest with you. Like when because I seen them do it with the parents as well. Like, I think there's so much news that has come out that I don't think anybody could recount everything correctly. So I think they try to give everybody the equal opportunity to be able to do these things, like to be able to recount the story correctly or give the information in the correct manner. So, but great question.
Going underneath it will actually pull all the water out of the bilge if you have the plug out. So like say you have the plug out and it's sitting, the boat will sink. If you have the plug out and you're running, all the water will rush out the back of the boat.
When you say on plane, you mean like it has to be going fast enough to be up on top of the water?
Yep. So on plane is you're up, you're running, you're out of the water basically. There's
your bows on plane.
Yeah, so you're up out of the water running.
So where are you guys at when this happens? As far as from Horn Island to the mainland, where are you guys at in between there?
So we're probably a mile and a half off of Horn, I'd say, a mile off Horn.
From the start where the Cito call was, we were probably about a quarter mile off the island. Like you could see, it's visible in the picture that you posted that Wyatt is on the Cito call, and it's that video of the boat panning, of the video of the boat being panned, and you can see everybody in the boat. If you look in the background, the island's right there. So I mean, going back to like what you said earlier, if we killed somebody or hurt somebody, the whole island is literally not even a quarter of a mile away to sea, with hundreds of boats lined up on the island. So that's really all I have to say about that.
Yeah. So we
were about a quarter mile out.
So we're about a quarter mile out, whatever. So they pull the plug out the back of the boat. They have the motor running and everything like that, and they go to take off. So the boat's having trouble trying to get up, and it's slowly coming up because the weight of the water. Finally, it planes off, and the water gets sucked out the back, and they're full speed running. And then after that, I didn't see them anymore. I think you were on the boat. You start from there.
Yeah. So after we planed off, Wyatt kept the boat pinned the whole way in. We ran into the mouth of Fort Bayou, where we came from originally, and we turned into Fort Bayou, went in the channel, ran probably 500, 600 yards into Fort Bayou. Wyatt had jumped out of the boat, put the plug back in the boat, so access water. So water didn't keep pushing and filling the boat up. So then we turned around, and Wyatt brought the boat to the dock, and that's when I had gotten out and got back in the car. And I didn't drive. A buddy of mine drove me, and we went back to Jax's house.
Jax's house. Okay, so I just want to make this very clear and abundantly clear for the audience. Are you saying that the video that I posted, which is like a 3-second loop, now I have a lot more of the video, but to not expose people that have nothing to do with this, I only posted the smaller part, the 3-second part. Are you saying during that time, a portion of that, Wyatt was on the phone with Cito, so a portion of that is the Cito call, and that Nolan is not on that boat?
Correct.
And that video that's out there is a representation of who was on the boat during that Cito call.
Correct.
So I want to jump back to something real quick, because I was on the island and the reception was bad. I left my phone on the boat when I got out and went in the water. But people are saying online that how can you make a Cito call if the reception is so bad on the island? Because before you said the reception wasn't really good enough to even send a picture message to somebody else. So how is this call being made if the reception is not as good?
I mean, if you listen to the call back, listen to the call back. I mean, there's areas in the call where it's splotchy. It's not direct. Like, it's not like you're sitting from me to you talking to the person on the phone. I mean, you're obviously out on the water. I mean, you can hear it in the Cito call.
And so when it comes to the reception, because I didn't look at my phone one time on the way out to Horn Island. I mean, it was a beautiful ride.
Of course, because you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking. I'm looking at how beautiful this water is.
Yeah.
We were having fun on the boat. We were playing music, some of Nolan's favorite songs.
Yeah.
So I wasn't thinking about my phone. So I wasn't checking reception. Now, is the reception recover at some point between Horn and the mainland? Or is it terrible reception while you're over the water until you get to the mainland?
No.
I mean,
As soon as you get off the island coming in shore,
yeah, but there's really like no definite way to tell where the reception comes in, because I mean it's all satellite. I mean,
yeah,
it's different. I've gotten service 80 miles offshore, like off of a satellite coming to a oil rig. Yeah, and I connected to it from the rig. But like,
it just depends.
I could go to Horn Island and not have any service. I could go there and have service. I mean, I think it's truly different, like every time.
So is it fair to say the service on Horn Island is super spotty?
Yes. Yeah.
And it was just almost by chance, in part, that the call was successful to call Cito. Okay.
Yeah, partly, yeah.
And I want to get to that picture, because I think.
And Rain, I agree with you. And again, for anybody who catches this on the rewatch, I'm gonna tell you guys because I think we're still putting so much emotions into it. The mom and dad's conversation on the stage is just as scripted. They're doing the same exact thing, like both, and that's why I wanted to cover this today, is because I want people to see the comparison. Both parties are doing the same thing. All 5 people, because right now we have these 3 and then the mom and dad. All 5 of these individuals are trying to justify their side of the story. Like, the mom literally sits on the stage and speaks about she had service, so she wanted to debunk the service issue. She talks about how she was seeking all these answers and people were not seeming like they had a sense of urgency. Like, everybody's trying to debunk it. But my biggest question I've been speaking about today is, how does this give us justice for Nolan Wells? Everybody is in protection mode instead of how do we get justice for Nolan Wells? Because at the end of the day, at the beginning of this interview, the young men have already given their phones over. The Wells family haven't given Nolan's phone over. They agreed to a joint extraction of the phone. Like, it hasn't happened yet. Like, so it's so many different pieces and everybody's doing the same thing. It's just all about how you want to look at the case. Like, I feel that everyone's stripped it at this point, besides content creators, just because we technically, none of us have a dog in the fight. But at the same time, everybody who's getting in front of a platform or on a stage is stripped it if they're involved in this. Rain said, it doesn't, it just keeps the circus going. It keeps the grift going, as they would say now, right, Rain? Like that, it keeps the grift going. And it's on both sides. Like I mentioned before, I'm not impressed with Officer Tatum's interviews. I feel like I feel like this is making them look worse. Even if they're telling the truth, it's all about how you tell the truth. And I think that's the biggest play. I think the brightest spots of most of these interviews were when everybody was speaking positive about Nolan, because I think that's the bigger picture, that we lost a great young man who's about to turn 19 next week on August the 19th. And I don't want that to ever get missed, because that's really the most important thing. I'm going to move this forward till we get to the Nolan's phone and keys, because the father did speak a lot about that on his interview on the stage today.
To help, we weren't trying to cover up anything. We want to know where our friend was just as bad as everybody else does. I mean, that was our boy. We want to know worse than everybody else does. And so that's how that picture came about.
And I want to get to the phone situation of Miss Christine, or Miss Wells said online, and I've seen it on the news and everything, as if she had to come and hunt you down to get this phone. Now, I know, Warren, you weren't at the house, and so you weren't there when they came to get the phone and all that. So how did this happen? Because last time we talked, you said you told, and I would call her Miss Christine, you told Christine that you had Nolan's phone. Like, can you explain that to me? Because I'm confused. I don't know what's what. It is.
You see what I mean? And there's moments in this interview where Tatum is asking very open-ended questions that will clear up some confusion, right? Because Miss Wells, on her interview on the stage, she did speak that she did receive a call from Warren, and that Warren said he would call the Coast Guard and she would call DMR, but she didn't mention about Warren speaking about the phone. So,
did you tell her you had the phone? And when did you tell her you had the phone, if you did?
Okay, so first we'll start off with what I have to say, and then Jax, but and if Morgan has something to say, but I want to get this straight. One of the first things I told Miss Christine Wells in the first phone call that ever occurred with anything to do with Nolan Wells being gone, because I was the first person to call Miss Christine about anything, first phone call.
And that is true. So I'm very interested to hear what he's about to say, because I haven't heard his part yet on this portion. So I'm very interested to hear what he's about to say, to see if it compares with Miss Wells.
And anything to do with Nolan Wells was me making a phone call to Christine Wells. And one of the first things I said to her, with multiple witnesses here, pull up the phone call if you want. She said, oh, well, Nolan's location is with y'all at, where the house we were at. And I was like, well, no, he left his phone with us. I told her this. She knew for a fact that we had his phone, and she knew.
She did say that, but then she did pose the question that everybody's asking. Why did you leave without Nolan Wells? That's a key question.
That I told her, I said, yeah, he left it on the boat with us. Like, a bunch of people did. And so I want to make that very clear, that I told Miss Christine there was no reason to hide anything. There was no issue regarding the cell phone. She could have came and picked it up, but instead she sent one of her friends to come pick it up. And that's where.
See, and do you hear that? She sent one of her friends, but we just discovered on the stage, again, if you guys are catching this on the rewatch, please pay attention to the first interview with the Wells family. The father was there too. And there were a lot of people who came to Jack's house about this phone and keys. It wasn't just the friend or the dad. It was a lot of people there, and you're about to hear about it.
These things start to get twisted, but no, there was never an issue with the phone. I told Miss Christine, one of the first things I told her was, we have Nolan's phone, and that's where that ends. There was no issues with the phone or the keys. So I want to make that clear.
So was the keys on the boat with the phone?
No, the keys were
They're at my house.
at Jax's house, because we all stayed there the night before. I'm sure if I would have left my truck at Jax's house, I would have left my keys there too. Because
one more thing to think about on the bed.
If I don't have my car or my truck.
The mom did say that she knew that Nolan told her that, hey, Mom, I'm going to be going out to the Horn Island, which she said was normal. And then she also said, I was aware that he was going to be staying with Jax. And then that's when she went into talking about she don't really know him, but she knows him.
Then why would I bring my keys on the boat? You know, so I mean, there's just no point of bringing it because if I lose them, then just more stuff to bring. I don't know. Very excited.
So I want you guys to explain this phone thing. I think Warren already addressed the fact that he told Christine that he had the phone in his possession. So, you know, the whole Life 360 thing is not adding up as far as what you're saying to me compared to what they're saying. Now, how did whoever came and get the phone, how did they get in touch with you guys and how did they get the phone back?
So I got a call from a kid we went to high school with. He called me just asking me questions. He saw people posting on Snapchat, like the picture that was circulating. And he called and he was asking questions. He was like, where's Nolan? When's the last time y'all seen him? And then he was like, so where are y'all at? And I told him, I said, we're at Jackson's house. And then Warren got on the phone and I don't know.
So they come to my house, right?
I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Out of all three of these jokers, Morgan seems very sincere. I could be wrong though, but he seems very sincere compared to the other two. I gotta say that.
And they kind of
hold on before we get there. Was it confrontational or was it just trying to find? It was confrontational.
Yeah, wouldn't y'all agree?
Yeah,
He was 110%.
He was very
confrontational.
And when did this happen?
And Rain and whoever is just coming in, again, go back to watch the father speak on this because the confrontational part is true. The father said that he had to tell them that we're already at Jack's house to come down and allow me to speak so that I could try to get information out of him.
Was this on the night of the 4th or the next
this
day?
was the night when this was before they came and got the phone.
So this is the night of the 4th, yes.
So you had already spoke to Christine.
Correct.
And then you get a call that was hostile.
Yeah, and then Morgan handed the phone over to me. I was like, oh, let me talk to him because I knew the guy. And I was just like, hey, like, he was like, where y'all at? Where y'all at? I was like, we're at Jackson's house. You know, it's like calm down. And then he hung up on me. And then.
Okay, so they pull up to my house. And at this point, I'm kind of freaking out. We're all trying to put our heads together on where Nolan is. And I kind of like isolate myself in my room, just kind of get in a ball and just lose it kind of basically.
And what Jackson is saying is going to be very accurate because the father says Jax comes down from upstairs and his hair was all messed up. And he said you could think that he was asleep. Probably they had to wake him up. But it can also be someone who was stressed, crying, you know, those type of things. So you can kind of compare these stories are hitting correctly. They're not like two different exacerbated stories. It's just that everybody has their own interpretation of the story.
For a few hours. And they just walk into my house, you know, and I hear all this commotion going on in my living room. And I'm just like, what in the world is going on? So I walk out there. There's probably like 10, 15 people in my house I don't even know. And they're all up in our faces, going crazy, asking where Nolan is, and we don't know. And finally they get into Wyatt's face and they're like, where is your boat? Where's the boat at?
Demanding his address.
Demanding his address and stuff like that. And he finally ends up giving it to him. And then at that, let me go ahead and state that while they're there, we give them the phone. They have the phone at this point.
That is true. The father definitely said the same thing.
Then they get the address to his house. Then they go to his house. And they're searching all over his boat, what I heard and stuff like that. Well, anyways, I don't really know much about that. But they come back to my house at around 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's his dad this time. And his dad's being really respectable, really, really nice to me and stuff like that. And as long as another friend of theirs. And he's asking me, like, where are the keys at? I don't even know where Nolan's keys are at in my house. You know how hard it is to find a set of keys in a house and you don't even know where to start? It's pretty hard. So I start scrambling.
And see, the father felt differently. The father felt that with Jackson telling him he didn't know where the keys were, that Jackson was lying to him. Because eventually someone tells Jackson where the keys are, and then now the father gets the keys. But the father looked at Jackson saying he doesn't know where they are as Jack's lying to him, which the father confirms that another person told Jax where the phone was. I mean, where the keys were. So obviously Jax didn't know where the keys were. So he didn't lie to him. He just told him, I don't know where they are. I can go look for them. But then someone did tell Jax where they were. Again, I highly encourage anyone, I'm going to repeat this a lot today, anyone who's coming in after the interview with the parents, you will need to go watch either the full live or go watch the parent interview first once they drop. So
around my house looking, there's stuff everywhere. Keep in mind, all these people stayed the night at my house before. I'm looking through everything. I can't find the keys. I run back to his father or stepfather, and I was like, I don't know where the keys are. And the guy standing next to him's texting somebody. I guess I was at my house, and he said that they're on the Xbox. So I run in, I see him on the Xbox, grab him off the Xbox, and I go in.
And Rain, if you stick around, I will, after this interview, go back and play this part about the keys and the phone from the dad, because this lines up exactly. So if somebody tells Jax where the items are, did Jax lie to the father?
Hand it to him. It's plain and simple. Didn't even take 30 seconds.
No trouble.
No trouble at all. So
this narrative that they're pushing, that there was any argument over the phone or the keys, is completely false. Like, let's get that clear.
yeah.
Okay.
So they just kind of hang around my house, taking pictures of all the cars' license plate in the driveway, stuff like that. And so
You say they, how many people are here this time?
So think about this. We haven't heard any of this, right? So think about the information that the Wells family received anyway, right? These friends or whoever was protecting Nolan Wells at this time was taking pictures of license plates. So think about all that, guys. They know who's who, because you go run the plates, you're going to see the parents, the family, whoever the car is registered under. There's a lot of information that has been received that no one's addressing. And then no one's addressing the young lady that everybody continues to say that Nolan Wells stayed with. Like, that's my biggest thing. Like, I know with Rain, it's about why did they leave him, but also, did they really leave him, or was he with that girl?
like 15.
15 people that you don't know?
They had 4 or 5 vehicles.
I mean, I knew some of them
Full
I
of
went to high
people.
school with, and then some of them I just didn't know.
Now, walk me through this. How do you think it got to this point so fast? That's one thing that I'm curious about. Like, you
jumping to conclusion.
I guess so. I mean,
That's plain and simple.
They went and searched Wyatt's boat.
Yeah, they went and searched Wyatt's boat.
Like
we
we
were
were
hiding them in there or
hiding
something.
Nolan in his boat or something. Like,
So I'm going to stop it there, because they're going to go back to just about the police call and things of that nature. But I do want, Rain, let me know if you're still in the chat. I am going to go back so that you can hear the father speak about the phone portion, because I think this really helps a lot, right? Because it's aligning the stories. Because right now, a lot of people are being called liars, but a lot of the story actually aligns. Everybody's just giving their take of the story. So here's the father. Let me see, make sure I start on the right portion.
The county stayed out there. My friend, he stayed out there because he called hours later. My friend calls me back. And he said, well, we're going to give it a go. But he said, look, I can gas the boat back up. And if you want to go back out there, we can go back out there. I said, I don't want to go back out to the island. I have a feeling that he's not there. And I don't want to go back to the island. So he said, he said, well, if you do, we can go right now. I said, don't worry about it. I appreciate you coming out there. But he said at that time the helicopters were out there, more Coast Guard, more people out there. Mm-hmm. So we get back on there. And as far as the keys, what was that night? Or was it
That was that night.
That was the night the call. Okay, let me back up. As far as getting the car back, after
you see that, Rain? Everybody's trying to recall these details. Like, it's the recounts. Everybody's trying to like put everything together, because if your emotions is involved in something, you really can't recount everything, but people are still guiding each other through the conversation. On this one, it might not be the reporter at that moment, which she does later on, but this moment, Christina is guiding her husband through the conversation. So everybody is helping someone get the recount out accurately.
We gave our report to Jackson County, the sheriff department that night. We were trying to figure out who to get a report to. We had a friend in the family that located his phone. Mm-hmm. We wasn't there to get the phone, but apparently there was some kind of friction with getting his phone. Yeah. We don't know what the friction was.
So the phone and the key were at the same location, which was Jack's house.
Okay.
And again, all of these kids share their locations on Snapchat. And so she was like, hey, I can go pick his phone up, not thinking that his car is there, you know. Mm-hmm. which she stopped everything she was doing. Her and the boys, they went out. Like, we were all out searching for him that night. And yeah, like Omar was saying, there was an issue, some type of friction. The cops ended up.
So do you hear this? So the stories are aligning, because she even said cops had to show up. So the stories of the young men are aligning with, like, hey, this lady was coming over there, she said, with the boys to go grab the phone and the keys, but there was some friction. Well, if 12 to 15 people that you don't know, all of them come to your house, there will be some questions and some possible friction. So
Coming, and they left. And so then kind of the same thing when we came to pick up the key. Elmore went up there asking for the key, didn't know where the key was, and all of a sudden we know where the key is.
And you see that, like, he even stated that he didn't know where they were, and he was able to text someone, that person texted him back to let him know where the keys were. It's all about how we're delivering the message. They're all saying the same thing. It's just that for her, it seems like as a mother, these should be common sense things, but these are young kids who have left their phones, left their keys. Everybody's at one guy's house. Like, it's a lot to the environment.
This is another thing that bothered me too. When we got to the house, it was some of his other friends were there, and they were, beating on the door, like, "Where Nolan there? Where Nolan there?" Beating on the door trying to get in the house.
So now the father is corroborating the story that Jackson gave, that all these random people came to the house, and the father just said that these gentlemen were beating on the door.
So I walk up to the door, and I'm calming them down, because for one, okay, you're loud. Two, you're in these people's house.
Do you hear that? He's corroborating the story.
So if you take these people's house up, there's gonna be a whole nother issue.
So he just assumed or put out an assumption that if y'all tear these people's house up, it's going to be a whole nother thing. What would make you think that they were even in the mindset of tearing up someone's house?
I want y'all partner. And three, I need you guys to calm down, and I need them to kind of trust me as being an adult so I can get something out of them.
And then now he's coming in with a manipulating mindset, saying that I need y'all to calm down so I can come in as the adult so they can kind of trust me so I can get something out of them.
So I get them out the house, and then Jax finally comes down the stairs, I guess in the room. Harold messed up like he just woke up, whatever. I said, look, I'm Nolan's father. His car's outside. I need to get his car and all his personal effects that may be left over here. And he goes, oh man, Nolan was like my brother. I said, Nolan was like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go and get everything of his so I can get his car, I can go home. So he walks off. 2 or 3 minutes later, come back. I don't see the keys. Okay. So I leave out the house, go back outside, stand by the car. During that time, one of the guys that was in the house, one of the other friends, he was on the phone with a girl who was apparently there with them earlier that day. And she was telling him that his keys was on.
I don't know if Rain here, because like, or whoever's listening in the chat, do y'all hear this? Like, literally, people are trying to say the young men were lying, but they weren't. And it was a young lady on the phone who knew where his keys were. We ain't questioning none of these women. We ain't questioning none of these women. We barely questioning the woman that apparently he was left on the island with. Now it's a young lady on the phone with one of the friends who knows where his keys are. But we ain't questioning none of the women. We're just going back and forth with these little boys.
Top of the Xbox in his room. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and we're still out by the car. And lo and behold, here comes the keys. So now to me, you lied to me 3 times. I don't
know how you're being lied to if someone on the phone had to tell Jackson where the keys were located. So that's segment number 2 of Faceless Father. If you're catching this on the rewatch, make sure that you leave a comment. Tell me your thoughts. Make sure you let me know what area you're watching from. If you like the content, please hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. But again, these are just facts, guys. This isn't me creating a new narrative. This isn't me trying to create information that no one's going to be able to hear. It's all out there. It's all out there. So we're going to move on to the final segment of the Faceless Father episode today, and that's going to be segment number 3. So here we go. So here in segment number 3 is going to be the post-conference interview that the Nolan Wells family did after they did their show with the young lady, where they talked about the night, what they experienced. And you're going to hear Al Sharpton speak, you're going to hear Ben Crump speak, and then you're going to hear the mom and the father speak. But I really want you guys to listen to it, because this is kind of the core of the show today, of where you're going to see people start to ask for peace in the midst of where we continue to use division and race to make our plight. So here we go.
Addressed what was going on with the Nolan Wells investigation, and specifically talked about what was being said by the Black Caucus, and they wanted to get federal agents. They wanted to get the FBI involved in this investigation because they don't like the way it's being handled. They don't like the speed at which it's handled. They don't like the fact that certain things haven't been looked into, which I also find interesting because, as we've heard from both sides, differing opinions on the phone, apparently the phone is still in the possession of Nolan Wells' family. They said, and they released a statement via their attorney, that they're ready and willing to share the phone with law enforcement, but law enforcement hasn't looked into it. That may be one of the reasons we have this press conference and this conversation here. So I'm going to get straight into it. We're going to hear from Reverend Al Sharpton. We may hear from Ben Crump and the family at some point as well. Let's go ahead and see what they have to say.
Good morning. Let me say the case that we have been dealing with now for the last several weeks around Nolan Wells is indicative of many cases around the country that have raised serious questions with racial overtones.
Oh, man. Starting off at a bad point already. There we go, bringing up the race again. Guys, I hate to interrupt this, but this is just bad. We got to stop with this. We've heard multiple, an abundant amount of information and evidence from Nolan Wells' friends, the friends that were there. They clearly had nothing to do with this, all right? Other than maybe some possible potential civil liabilities that could come out. When it comes to Nolan being dead, it's clear that his friend had nothing to do with this. So whatever racial undertones that Reverend Al Sharpton is talking about, it's time to move on from that, in my opinion.
Attorney Crump and I are
starting off on that already.
I'm doing the eulogy for a young Black man in Madison, Wisconsin, homeless. And they say at a night, and there's the tape of him being shot, 3 cops surrounding him, shot and killed, 4 shots. And these cases building up in a climate of an administration in Washington that we cannot feel will objectively investigate. There was a time that we.
And as I mentioned earlier in the show, on the first interview with the parents, everybody now is continuing to bring up the politicians, the president, the Republican Party, the Democrat Party. None of that is going to find justice for Nolan Wells.
You could say if state authorities fail us, we can go to the Justice Department. Even under George Bush, we went to the Justice Department. We, at this point, have to hope that one, we can deal with civil courts, or secondly, that there's a balance of power with the Democrats taking the House in November, and maybe the Judiciary Committee under that can at least put a check and balance on cases that need to be investigated.
What is he talking about?
Right now, where we have 2 parents, lovely parents, I've gotten to know them, that really don't have an answer to a question. Is it a civil rights violation or not? And we do not know. How do you trust the words of people that say immediately there was no foul play when you haven't even investigated whether it was foul play?
I told you guys, that was a bad statement. And then this is the thing that is going moving forward to, I think, be a regret from the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. Because again, less than 24 hours, and they say several hours after Nolan Wells' body was found, they say, oh, investigators say that there was no signs of foul play, or they don't see that there's foul play. I wish I could get the exact quote here. I think that was a huge mistake on their part, and it's going to continue to come up because they made things seem rushed. How do you come to that conclusion and you just found his body? Bad.
How do you trust people that come back from something that happened and never really give you a straight story of what happened, including you have the keys to the car? So when you have more questions than answers, you have to have people that will drive the answers out, and that's what we do. And that's why I've been involved, and that's why we stay involved. And it gets worse and worse and worse. The parent of one of the boys threatening to sue us for asking a question.
No, that's not what's happening now. What's happening is what we addressed as soon as this press conference started, and that's you making it a race thing. And again, a lot of the lies that were being told were either being pushed or ignored by you guys. We even talked about the pool party post that Benjamin Crump posted, which I thought was the most ridiculous, idiotic thing I'd ever seen from an attorney in a case like this, to where he reposted an unproven photograph and said, oh, maybe this happened, or maybe this was taken on July 4th and Nolan Wells was actually with these people that night. It was bad. Come to find out, it was actually from June 27th. So yeah, there's a lot of room, I think, for them to sue. And this is just the beginning when it comes to lawsuits against Al Sharpton, against Ben Crump. I don't know if there's any lawsuits against the Wansley family. I don't see anything at this point. We'll have to wait and see.
Imagine that now.
Jeez.
Some of you, y'all call it, what do you feel about the parents? One of the boys says he's going to sue you and Ben Crump. Sue us for what? For saying what happened? So we've gone back that far. And that is why we're going to stand with these parents.
Double
because
down.
Usually, you know, I come from Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised there. I don't come from the South. But my mother used to bring me down south from my grandmother in Dothan, Alabama. And Congresswoman, my grandmother told me, you see that pen over there? I said, yes. She said, that's a pen of hogs and pigs. I said, yes, ma'am. She said, always know something. If you take a brick and you throw it in that pile, the hog that hollers is the hog you hit. There's too much hollering going on in Mississippi that we haven't hit something. I can't figure out which one we hit.
This
but we
guy.
hit something. Because now they're talking about lawsuits. They're threatening a mother of a child, trying to get her job taken. You wouldn't be hollering if we wasn't hitting something. And
I'm gonna be honest. Christine Elmore, this man has nothing to offer. Please distance yourself from this man. It's this disgusting to hear the way he is talking about this situation, how he's trying to politicize it. He already spent time. You guys heard him talking about Democrats getting in so they can maybe move things so these cases can be get out of here. Al Sharpton, please. I don't know why this man's involved. Listen, I've given Ben Crump his credit when it comes to him being able to get not notoriety, that's the wrong word, to get publicity surrounding a case, to get people involved in this case. Al Sharpton, this is just making things so much worse, I think, from this family and the optics when it comes to what's truly important in this case, which is finding out what happened to Nolan Wells. Because Al Sharpton, he's really not providing anything other than a narrative that, again, I think could cause someone to face some legal issues. This is so bad, man. It's hard to listen to.
And we're going to stay on it all the way. In light of that, before attorney, and I call him the Attorney General of Black America, gives us the legal basis, and then we hear from the parents. Congresswoman who lived herself through dealing with the whole tragedy of her own son. That's how we met. On a plane. She was a flight attendant at the time. And she stopped me on the plane and said, Reverend, why are you dealing with my son's case? And we started a relationship. She ended up being elected right here in Georgia and reelected. They redrew her lines and she was reelected anyhow. The lines couldn't it reduced the favor of the people. Congresswoman Lucy McBath.
All right, hopefully Lucy is more reasonable. Good
First, I want to
gosh.
say thank you to Reverend Al Sharpton, and also thank you to Attorney Crump for being the armor bearers for this family, the Nolan's family. It's a really, really sad occasion that we're here again. I was just saying to my staff on the way in, it's like this brings back so many vivid memories for me and my own family, having lost Jordan to unnecessary gun violence in November 2012, Black Friday, simply because he was Black and playing loud music in his car. And so here we are again today, here for the loss of another Black young man in our community. And we find ourselves asking the same questions. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And this family stands here demanding answers. This family deserves answers. I myself sought the same justice for my son Jordan that they're seeking for theirs, and they deserve answers.
Oh, what happened to her son?
And they deserve justice. Justice that should not be denied this family, or should ever be denied to any of our children or lost loved ones. As a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, I'm the second vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. We are demanding a full federal investigation. Cash Patel, we're demanding a full federal investigation as to what has actually happened to Nolan Wells. We want to make sure that every stone is unturned.
Can they demand that? I mean,
because his life
better
matters.
ask.
All of our children's and our families' lives matter. And we must fight back. We must stand up and we must demand accountability for this family's loss. We cannot turn a blind eye to what continues to happen again and again and again. That's the reason why I ran for Congress, to make sure that we continue to put a
And do y'all hear her? I can respect her passion. I can respect her rhetoric. I can respect everything she's saying because she's doing something that I always speak of. She became part of the system that failed her so that she can protect others who are being failed by the system that failed her. Not saying I'm the smartest guy in the world, but I always tell people, if you want to fix a system, you have to become part of it. It's the only way to make it better. You can't keep taking old bolts and putting it on new bolts and thinking that it's going to hold the same. Like, she lost her son in 2012 from what she feel was due to race, and she joined a system to make it better for others. It's the only way, because us that care are the only people who are willing to even want to change it. So,
face on what's happening to our families and our communities every single day. We must say Nolan's name. Say his name. Lift his name. And as the national
We're going to talk
black
about everything that's
journalist
going
of
on in
this
the
country,
community.
you have the ability to be able to lift this story and not let it die. We see over and over again these kinds of tragedies in our communities that continue to happen.
All right. When we start to have the community conversation, listen, a lot of y'all know where I want to go with this. I'm not going to do it right now out of respect for Nolan Wells. But if we want to talk about what happens in the community, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say, if you look at it percentage-wise, the cases of what's happening and what happened to Nolan Wells here, even if you take the worst case scenario, what happened, the percentage of that happening in the community versus maybe some type of other crime, which I won't mention right now, happening in the community, it seems like that's the bigger issue. You guys are smart. You can put the pieces together on what I'm talking about. I don't know why we're focusing on this as the big community thing that we need to focus on, because even in Mississippi, this isn't something that happens that often. But okay.
Make it to CNN.
We'll make it about
they
that.
Make it to MSN now. They make it to our local news for maybe 30 days, if that. And then the stories are gone. And the carnage is left with the families and the communities that have lost someone that they love. So I thank the National Black Journalist. Thank you for lifting this family story. Do not let it die. Continue to say his name. Continue to tell his story, because they deserve justice, and it matters. It mattered for me. It mattered for Trayvon. It mattered for Eric Brown. It matters for all of our loved ones that we have lost.
As Attorney Crump comes, let me say, as Congresswoman McBath said, the caucus has asked the federal government to look into it. For those of us,
oh no, she said they demanded
of the present administration. That is why January becomes important. That we have a judiciary committee that can also monitor when investigation happens now.
they're pushing politics behind Nolan Wells' case. They're pushing politics. They're pushing politics. Just like they used George Floyd to get Biden into the office, they're pushing politics and erasing justice. I know some people are going to miss this because, again, normally everybody's in their emotions. Everybody's trying to be right. They're pushing politics, not justice.
Now, it does not happen. So it won't end there. They may come out with any announcement they want in the next month or so. We have a big march on August 28th in Washington we must deal with voting rights. So we have the right.
They're talking about voting rights, guys. Look at what this is becoming. I understand that everybody's don't like everybody's unpopular opinion. But man, if I was a betting man, I'll be wealthy, super wealthy, because this is becoming something totally different, guys. I would highly encourage you guys to go watch a wonderful show called Same Source, Different Roots, and listen to those lawyers that are protecting the boys, because there sounds like this case has already been closed shut, and now we're just pushing and grifting on more and more information so that we can now make this a politics thing. Even again, when you guys were watching this on the rewatch and you listen to the parents' interview, that lady brought up President Trump multiple times. I want to apologize to the Wells family for y'all don't understand this game that they have placed you in. Nolan Wells would now be what the next Democratic person runs off of. And there would be no justice behind it.
People in so we can check and balance. I want to say to people in Mississippi, whatever
this is why Al Sharpton's here.
Once we have a fair and balanced government, your investigation will be investigated. It will not end with what they say in Mississippi. Attorney General of Black America, Benjamin Crump.
Good grief,
so much,
man.
Mentor. Reverend Allen, thank you for helping not only lead the effort to get to the truth, but keeping this family in your prayers as you have done so many more families.
I don't know what Al Sharpton is helping.
Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Eric Hertz, Attorney Lisa Park, Attorney Amaya Smith. We have the honor of representing the family of Nolan Wells. Obviously, you all have come to know his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley.
Yeah, prayers go out to them, man.
This
Jeez.
is hard. I heard Congresswoman Macbeth, who lost her son Jordan almost 12 years ago, and it's still raw and emotional when you hear her talk about the loss of a child. I mean,
I haven't heard that story. I'll have to look it
he's
up.
not coming back, and that is the story. Everything else is just, hyperbole, is distraction. The story is what happened to Nolan Wales. Somebody knows something. Somebody saw something. I'm thankful to Reverend Al Sharpton and Mr. Tyler Perry and Terrell Owens and Byron Allen putting up these rewards. I understand. And others have now put up rewards.
And for those who don't follow all content, they continue to leave Colin Kaepernick's name out now.
And that's good because that means we all have the same objective.
And if y'all are wondering what happened, Miss McBath's son, her son was killed in a stand your ground shooting. Wow. And when he was 17. And it looks like the man who shot and killed her son is actually in prison. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. That's sad.
That's sad, but that's justice. That man's doing life for something that he did what was wrong.
Truth about what happened to Nolan Wales. And it is urgent. It is urgent because each day that goes by, you worry, will we ever get to the truth? And so that's why we want to thank CBC for calling on the federal authorities and anybody else who has resources to help this family get to the truth of what happened to their son. I know I was talking to Christian Clark, and she said, no, let's make sure that all taxpayers' money that goes to support federal resources apply to our children too. I mean, nobody should say, oh, it doesn't matter that much because it's a black child. No, it matters. All of our children matter. And so we are going to continue every day to say his name, Attorney Hertz, Attorney Park, Attorney Smith, trying to work with the local district attorney to give them what they need to do a thorough, fair, full, impartial investigation. That's what we're asking for. Everything else is just a distraction because
there's a lot of distractions, that's for sure.
Nolan's birthday is next Wednesday, August 9th.
I'm going to play that back for those who are watching. I want y'all, because Rain talked about the boys being scripted. If you're watching this on the rewatch or you're currently watching this live, watch how they make eye contact to shift the environment. Please pay attention.
Fair, full, impartial investigation. That's what we're asking for. Everything else is just a distraction because
there's a lot of distractions, that's for sure.
Did y'all just see that look? And then he shifts to an emotion.
Nolan's birthday is next Wednesday, August 19th.
Oh, man. That's all.
It's going to be extremely difficult for his mother, his father, his family. Because this August 19th will be like no other that they've ever had for the last 19 years.
Oh, that's so sad, man.
I mean,
dang.
It's a milestone when your child gets to be 18 years old. You try to breathe a little easier right now. You say, man, we almost got them that they at the cusp of being an adult, cusp of manhood.
All right, man, you got to chill. You're starting to make me emotional. Guys, as a parent, I had this conversation just the other day. This was such a good point by Ben Crump. I mean, they made it all the way. They made it to the finish line, technically, with their son. They did an excellent job.
And I want to shout out Class E. I don't know if you will ever see any of this content, but one thing Class E can do is he can tell you what he doesn't like about you, but he can also tell you what he does like about you. And I think that's a very strong attribute that he has. And I think that's what people need to be able to do more of. Ben Crump is not popular, right? But he does still call out the things that Ben Crump do well. And even when Ben Crump came on the back end of Al Sharpton and tried to recover the team because Al Sharpton is pushing politics and Ben Crump is trying to push justice. They're not going in the same direction. And that's why, as Class E said, I think Al Sharpton should buy out of the rest of this.
Raising this kid. I mean, top tier. People loved him. Nobody has a bad thing to say about him. Athlete, good student, impacting the community, helping out with a lot in the community and beyond. And he's made it to the finish line and that he dies in this way. So sad. It gets me super emotional. Ben is so right on that. I cannot imagine what they're going through. Continue to pray for them. Goodness, man.
And you heard how
he needs to chill.
Elmo was working so hard him and Nolan, his football career. I mean, he had a good start, but this was really going to be his year. I mean, so much hope, so much promise.
Yeah.
And then July 4th came, and 4th of July will never be the same to Christine and Elmore. And on the 19th, next Wednesday, his family, we're all asking for prayer for Nolan. I know there's going to be a prayer visual, and Ocean Springs, I know Reverend Al is going to work to make sure we're all praying all across the nation. But yeah, let's pray. Can we pray together in unity to say, let's get to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells?
Yeah.
Can we do that, America? Can we at least come together in unity on his birthday? Everybody who claimed to ever be a friend of his, can we come together in unity and pray for the truth and try to have love in our hearts for this family? For this.
That's tough. That's tough for somebody who ostracized and put a target on the people who were surrounding and close to Nolan at this time. It's tough for you to say, can we come together and have unity now? I think the damage has been done. The damage has been done. Everybody's lawyered up. We saw the narrative that was pushed by this man, Ben Crump, by Al Sharpton. And I mean, it's nice if you want to put out a statement and say, listen, you know, we may have handled things a little bit rashly. He won't do that. And maybe we should have done this and went about this a certain way. But now we're ready to move forward and work together on this. He's saying work together. It's too late, man. It's too late. You should have said that 30 plus days ago when this first went down, instead of saying something ain't right. Al Sharpton saying, I'm not saying it's a race thing, but I'm not saying it isn't a race thing. Yeah, I think it's a little too late for that now.
Broken-hearted mother and father, his sisters and brothers, can we try to give them grace and give them love and pray for their humanity, for their son who was lost on 4th of July and is never coming back? Is that so much to ask? Let's have a national day of prayer on August 19th, next Wednesday, for Nolan Wells.
And I'm going to stop it there. I would highly encourage everyone, if possible, to be available for that visual. They're going to do a candlelight visual on August the 19th, which is going to be next Wednesday, to just show support for Nolan Wells. I would highly encourage everyone to do that, because Nolan Wells is who we should actually be supporting and who we should actually be looking for justice for. But this afternoon show was all about providing the facts, providing the information, showing you guys that two stories can be very similar, just expressed in multiple different ways. But the key question is, do our children always do what's right? And I'm going to continue to push. If we're going to keep talking about those boys, we have to start speaking about these women, because it sounds like I don't know if it was the same woman who called Jax to tell him where the keys were, if this is the same woman who was on the boat with him. But we do have to figure out some answers when it comes to what happened to Nolan Wells. With that being said, asking those to unite when you started off with division poses a lot of questions for myself. It poses a lot of thoughts and concerns about why now. And for those who, like I said, if you haven't watched the interview with the lawyers that are with the attorneys that are being the attorneys for the three young men that you just seen, Jax, Morgan, and then Warren, those lawyers were poking at a lot of, like, this case is already a closed and shut case. And hearing Ben Crump asking everyone to unite, and hearing Al Sharpton start pushing politics now and bring another politician up there to tell her story about how to gain justice and how she became part of the system. To me, this is looking like there's a lot of answers that have already been, a lot of questions that have already been answered behind the scenes, but they're trying to find a way to give it to the public. So with that being said, I'm going to close with this. Can we still find even ground? As we close this afternoon, remember the person at the center of all of this, Nolan Wells. August 19th should have been about a young man turning 19 years old. His family should have been celebrating another year of his life. Instead, they are searching for answers. The three young men who were with Nolan that night are living under the weight of public scrutiny while maintaining their account of what happened. The rest of us are watching two sides tell their stories. But our responsibility isn't to manufacture a third story. Our responsibility is to separate what has been established from what has been alleged, what people remember from evidence that can be demonstrated, and legitimate questions from predetermined conclusions. If the Wells family's account is supported by evidence, follow it. If the three young men's accounts are supported by evidence, follow it. If the evidence contradicts something we previously believed, then we should have enough integrity to change our minds. And when leaders who previously emphasized race and Mississippi history now call for peace, we shouldn't reject peace. We should ask what peace requires. Because peace without truth is temporary. Unity without accountability is cosmetic. And reconciliation doesn't mean pretending division never happened. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe the same people who disagree about almost everything can finally agree on one principle. Nobody gets to own the truth. Not the Wells family, not the three young men, not Ben Crump, not Al Sharpton, not commentators, not us. The evidence has spoke louder than all of us. Because when this is over, there shouldn't be a winning side or a losing side. There should only be the closest thing we can establish to what actually happened to Nolan Wells. So maybe the question isn't whose side are you on, but maybe the question should have been needed from the beginning is, are we finally willing to meet on even ground? I want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned in this afternoon to The Faceless Father. I encourage those who are going to watch this on the rewatch to really give your comments, really listen to the words that are being spoken and not judge the words that are being spoken. And I ask you guys to understand one question: can we all end on even ground, or has the division won another one? We'll catch you on the next Faceless Father. I appreciate everyone, and y'all have a great afternoon.
Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't daddy. Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't perfect, but he showed me how to stand. Life ain't about excuses. It's about becoming a man. Everybody got a story. Everybody got some pain. Everybody wants peace. After the lines get drawn, everybody wants unity. After everybody picked a side. But if peace is really what we wanted, why didn't we start there? Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't daddy. Daddy wasn't perfect. Daddy wasn't perfect, but he showed me how to stand. Life ain't about excuses. It's about becoming a man.